We need an additional 2,000 officers to properly patrol our streets and conduct investigations in this city.
Houston Police Chief Troy Finner calling for a 40% increase in the size of his force to, in his words, deliver the degree of public safety citizens deserve. So, could the ongoing debacle involving uninvestigated crimes prove a catalyst for the long overdue expansion of city law enforcement? For his part, the mayor pointed back to the fall campaign when he was criticized for supporting the deployment of state troopers here to assist overwhelmed police in getting a better handle on crime.
We've got, you know, officials in our county that say, oh, additional officers are going to criminalize more things, or criminalization of our community. No, crime drives police work.
Panel, could this dereliction of duty scandal actually put a critical spotlight on the necessity of expanding the depleted ranks of HPD? Before we answer that question, I wanted you to finish your story about, it sounds like a workman who lost all his tools, his livelihood.
Yeah, not only that, there was a victim that, you know, unfortunately when I worked in the school, in a very large prominent school here in HISD, I don't want to mention name, but it's a very, a situation, the two hardest things you can have is the death of a student or a CPS case. And there was an incident where I had to report a CPS case. 2 years later, I get called back and say, hey, is there any, I need some information about this. By that, I found out later that the perpetrator had long gone to Mexico. So Chief Finner is the nicest guy on earth, but niceness is not going to bring comfort to these victims. And also, he said that, you know, he wants to fix this problem. These things are unfixable for the most part. Now, he can put a stop gauge from here on forward, but they must hold people accountable to send a message that we are really serious about this. If not, we're going to continue with the mistrust of minority community and law enforcement. And I back the blue, but there is definitely a thin blue line.
Okay, I want to turn back to the manpower issue. You know, roughly 5,000 cops, 2.3 million people. Is this just the chickens coming home to roost?
Well, yeah, partially, yeah. And I mean, in a push for more cops in this instance, this is a reason that the phrase, don't let a good crisis go to waste, exists. I mean, and I'm not saying that to be dismissive of their ask, I mean, but it is a good way to build public support to get more police officers given what is going on and what we've heard so far. And to Chris's point about some of the cases, I heard Finner speak about this a couple of times, and I do understand that some of these cases are, you know, I might have hit a pole and I needed to file an incident report for my insurance. And that's what Finner was saying. Some of these are insurance claims and different things like that. So they're not necessarily cases, they're incidents. But my thing is the buck stops at the top. And if he made a request or a demand to stop using that code in 2021 and asked for a review of cases from 2016 to 2021, where were the results of that? And if he didn't receive results, then why not ask for more? And so I hope that's answered. And then to Marcus's point, because I was going to give him credit about this before he spoke, but he always talks about the kind of, not conspiracy, but keeping things inside the department. And we saw that with Goins, with people protecting him for years. This is no different than people protecting this whole thing going on, and now it's coming out. And so that's got to stop.
I'll like 20 seconds to talk for victims. For victims.
For victims, thank you so much for bringing up victims, because they're not all property crime victims, although those are victims too. As Sergio said, you know, people can't handle having their car stolen or their tools stolen. What about these sexual assault victims and what they have undergone? Two things Troy Finner could not answer in that press conference that I found deeply troubling: whether or not there are any homicides involved here, and the other factor is whether or not this affects the crime stats. We've been being told that our crime is down, and 264,000 incidents or cases or whatever they may